The final presentation of the session is by John Harvey. John Harvey is Professor of Civil and Environmental Engineering at University of California at Davis. He is the Director of the UC Pavement Research Center at the university and PI on numerous projects related to pavement technology, management, lifecycle costs, and environmental assessments. Prior to coming to UC Davis, he worked at UC Berkeley.
Thanks for the opportunity to speak with everybody today. Our focus of today's presentation is local government training, talking about the experience over the last few years with our new City and County Pavement Improvement Center. So the idea, we call this CCPIC, City and County Pavement Improvement Center. The idea for the City and County Pavement Improvement Center came from trying to work with local governments as a university from 1995 to 2005, and we did tech transfer classes. We would respond to cities and counties as requested, always unfunded or seldom funded. And at the time in 1995, when we started, there was only one university out of the 10 campus University of California system and the 23 campus California State University system, California State University being our teaching universities and UC being our research universities. At the time I was at Berkeley and we were the only pavements program in the entire state. And the conclusions after trying to help folks kind of ad hoc was that there were way too many cities and counties for the University of California Pavement Research Center, where I'm at, to help as individuals or in small groups. We have 58 counties. That's not very many compared to a lot of states, but those counties range in population from 1,000 to 10 million people. And we have 482 cities ranging from about 100 people up to 4 million people in our cities. And being in the well, it's called the North, it's not the true North, but the northern part of the state, we had trouble reaching Central and Southern California, where 30 out of our 40 million people live. And there was no funding, therefore limited resources and an inability to sustain the effort. So after talking a lot with our tech transfer partners, consultants, local governments who we had tried to work with, we decided that the solution was a center devoted to improving pavement knowledge and practice for local government. And we worked on the CCPIC concept, put it together from 2015 to 2018 with support from the National Center for Sustainable Transportation and ITS Davis, which recognized that financial sustainability and environmental sustainability really required an improvement in the basic knowledge of folks out there practicing. Our other partners at that time were ITS Berkeley and a committee that was working on raising the gas tax to support local government as well as state government, called the Local Streets and Roads Committee. And that was a committee of the League of California Cities, the California State Association of Counties, and the County Engineers Association of California, to try and figure out how we should put this together and to help us gain credibility that the concept, to refine the concept and that the concept that we had credibility. National Center for Sustainable Transportation funded us to put together a white paper to go out and take a look and do a survey and talk to folks in some states that we had identified with histories of local government pavement technical training programs. So we went to Iowa, who got started in the 1940s with this, Minnesota, North Dakota, Texas, Ohio, and regionally, our neighbor in Washoe County, Nevada. We did interviews, we did a survey, we drew conclusions and published that in a white paper that's shown here. And we learned a lot from these folks who'd been doing it for a long time. The questions we asked, just a flavor of these, why was the program started? How did you identify the need? I think the need is obvious to those of us in pavement, wasn't necessarily obvious to the people who we were asking to charter this and to get behind this. How is it organized? Obstacles? How do you solicit ideas? How do they get the money? How much money do you get? And we tried to then normalize that per capita for our large state population-wise and area-wise, and some of the smaller states. Who does it report to? Who governs it? How do you communicate what you've done to get the message out? What is working and what is not working? So these are all covered in the survey, and these gave us a pretty good idea. Some of the results of that survey were that all of the organizations primarily used their universities to provide technical content. The Minnesota program also relies on the large MnDOT research effort and those staff as well. The boards making these decisions regarding direction, who basically give direction, are dominated by the customers, who are the local government officials. In some cases, the board, or many cases, the board also included some state officials and some academic members. In most of these states, much of the funding was actually coming through the state DOT. 3 of the 5 statewide programs were affiliated with state DOTs, 2 were not, and the state DOTs often helped with management of the program, but in some cases they didn't. The funding primarily came from state DOTs or state legislatures, and it was coming from their gas tax as the major funding sources. Each state had very different ways they allocated this. We thought Washoe County was pretty unique in that they are able to levy their own local gas tax, fuel tax for its pavement program, its preservation program, and they also use that gas tax to support training, research, and development through the University of Nevada, Reno. We went and called the legislature, and we found out the California Constitution reserves the right to tax fuel for the state government, and local government isn't allowed to do that. So that nipped our first big idea on funding in the bud. The other thing we looked at was we are primarily funded, UCPRC is primarily funded by Caltrans to do state-focused research, state DOT-focused research. We needed a big team to address this. On the left-hand side, it's the University of California Pavement Research Center at Davis and Berkeley. Folks at Berkeley run the tech transfer program. They're leading our training program. The California Pavement Preservation Center at Chico State, a lot of expertise there that we wanted to tap into. And then those are all in the north. We needed to be working with our pavement programs at Cal State Long Beach in the LA area and Cal Poly San Luis Obispo in the central area. And then we had to try and figure out funding. We were not able, the gas tax was new for local government. They weren't ready to skim off the top on that. So right now the universities are actually stepping up and they're getting a portion of the gas tax, which is primarily intended for research. But the university consortium that's shown here is taking part of their gas tax research money and actually using it to do our current funding for the local government tech transfer program. So that's the Institutes of Transportation at Davis, Berkeley, Los Angeles, and Irvine, through the UC system, and then through the Cal State system, the Mineta Transportation Institute. So the upper left is the content delivery, the upper right is patching together the startup funding, and we're sponsored by the League of Cities, the County Engineers, and the State Association of Counties. And we got charted about 2.5 years ago. So that's pretty, a lot of stuff about basically trying to organize folks to get behind this idea and then pull together the funding and start to build credibility for this. This is something that's never, it seems like falling off a log, I can see from some other states, and that's what we found in our survey, but I'm guessing they went through some of these startup issues and trying to organize everybody and get behind this when they got started in the 40s and 50s and 60s. So our mission is to work with local governments to increase pavement technical capability through timely, relevant, practical support, training, outreach, and research, emphasis on training. And our vision is to better pavement, last longer, cost less, and a big issue in California is environmental sustainability as well. I kind of went through all the partners there, our governance, which we learned from the survey. The money's coming from the university. They're not trying to provide technical direction. We really are trying to build support and potentially find some other funding sources but we're driven by a board of 6 city pavement officials and 6 county pavement officials. And right now we're working at about $200,000 a year. Couple more of the UCs are going to kick in some funding, and we have 2 years of funding at about $300,000 a year. Per capita, this is about 3%, 5% of what we saw in some of the states that we surveyed. As a total dollar amount, it's less than any of the programs that we saw in any of the states that we surveyed. But we're trying to be as efficient as possible and build this support. So scope of work, first priority is training and technology transfer. We put together guidance documents, model specifications that local governments can download, and tools such as our life cycle cost analysis software, specifications such as our model concrete specification, our model asphalt compaction specification, and our new super pave for local government specification. We also do outreach and function as a resource center. Research and development maybe someday, but we have training is our #1 thing, and then developing and putting tools into people's hands that they can use is our second thing. We're continually trying to stay in touch with the customers, even though now more and more of them over the last 2 years have heard of us. We started out with about 3% of the state having ever heard of us. So we did an initial survey in 2017 through the local streets and surveys. This was partly to get us started. These were some of the needs that were identified, and these you can see very much in the wheelhouse of the Pavement Preservation Conference. PMS, these are city needs. PMS operation, how do I work this PMS? How do I use it to maximum advantage? Preservation and maintenance and rehab practice, general knowledge. We find that many of our pavement professionals working in local government have never had a pavement class in their entire undergraduate or graduate school training. So it's all learned on the job, primarily learned on the job, and whatever tech transfer classes they were able to get before. We found that county needs are similar in some ways, but county needs are not exactly the same as city needs. So somewhat different flavor for this. And we need to recognize the differences between those rural counties with 5,000 residents and the urban counties with 5 to 10 million residents. A lot of big differences across the state, and we're trying to catch the major priorities for all of them. We did another survey specifically focused on training needs in 2019. These are the top responses. Again, just basic knowledge was the first priority. Preservation maintenance for asphalt pavements, and then rehab now that we're starting to get a little bit of tax money, gas money, more money into the system. Preservation treatments and construction, major elements. The one on the bottom there, pavement for managers, and this is a class we're working on right now, but what should somebody who does not want to be a pavement professional but is managing the public works program or managing the transportation commission, something like that, what should they know about pavement? What's the basics they should know? And a lot of our folks thought that they needed the people that they need to go to communicate with, to get funding and so on, needed a basic primer on pavements. So we put together a certificate program on pavement for local governments. It has a core shown across the top. And by the way, this is all web-based delivery at this point. We were planning to be 10 to 20% in person, 80 to 90% web-based. We started launching our courses in late 2019 and really got going in early 2020. And you know what happened in early 2020. So we are now 100% web-based. So you can see fundamentals, introduction, basic concepts, sustainability concepts, both financial and environmental. And then we drill down life cycle cost analysis, pavement management, asphalt concrete materials, pavement preservation materials and treatments, and construction. The electives are shown across the bottom. Folks need to know something about the economics, integrated asset management. Pavements are more than just things that vehicles drive on. they have utilities, they handle active transportation, they fit into planning concepts. So how do you integrate the pavement program into all of that? And then you can see more details in terms of the electives. We're also looking at the electives at what industry is offering and also what national programs are offering, so that people to complete this certificate can take classes other than those shown here. We've trained, this is just a quick, some of the classes we've been delivering, numbers that we've hit so far. So we're just barely beginning to scratch the surface here as we're starting to roll these classes out. One of the parts of this, to get the certificate, you have to pass an exam on the class. And so we really trying to encourage people to move towards working towards the certificate. Don't just take the class, but think about taking the whole program. Still working our way up to try and get more people to take the test and then find ways to help them be successful in passing that test. What we're looking at ahead is how do we make this more cost effective? One of the things, we're talking to our board about this and gathering information through surveys. Real hard to go back to the council or the board of supervisors or the management class by class by class. So we're looking at packaging this into one fee to complete all the core classes, another fee potentially to complete the electives, try and limit the number of asks that have to be made for training. We're developing the new electives, as I mentioned, and also looking at electives from trying to keep other training providers, trying to keep this as flexible and comprehensive as possible. Some of the issues that come up are we're going to have to review and approve the course content for eligibility from outside providers. And we need to figure out a way to certify attendance and test knowledge gained when the class is being taken from another provider. New feedback from our governance board. Now that we're starting to get the gas tax projects rolling out now, gas tax was passed in 2017 and reaffirmed by direct vote of the state in 2018. They really feel that their construction inspection folks need a lot of training. And so we're starting to set up a construction inspection certificate, and then working on ways to really try and get the best of training knowledge, tech transfer knowledge, particularly web-based knowledge and all the issues associated with web-based training that all of you who have children who've been taking web-based training at times this year know about. Quick view of there'll be some overlap in the construction certificate and then some new classes. Electives, we're working on these. Again, looking at outside providers for these as well. And that's it. That's an overview of what we're doing. Thank you.
The preceding was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found on the web at pavementpreservation.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.